My parents forced me to pay all bill while my siblings lives rent-free, so I cut them off and gave them a brutal reality check they'll never forget. My siblings call it being the good guy, but now I think they've mistaken my goodness for stupidity. Tomorrow, I'm going to change all that. I've prepared eviction notices, and my best friend Marcus has already changed the locks. Once I drop this bomb at tomorrow's family meeting, there's no going back.
Let me take you back to when this nightmare began. It was a Saturday morning about 2.5 years ago. I remember because I was exhausted from work, quarterly reports always wear me out, and that week had been hell. I was looking forward to a whole day of nothing, just sleeping in and maybe ordering some takeout later, no stress, no people. Then, at exactly 7 a.m., my doorbell went off like a fire alarm. At first I thought I was dreaming. When it didn't stop, I dragged myself to the door, still half asleep. Standing on my doorstep were my brother Eric and my sister Laura, each holding a suitcase. I stared at them, confused, wondering what kind of fever dream I was in. Eric grinned like it was the most normal thing in the world. "Yo, miss us?" he said, his voice way too loud for that hour. "What the hell?" I mumbled, rubbing my eyes. Behind them, I saw my parents' car parked at the curb. I thought maybe they'd come up to explain, but no. Mom gave me a little wave, Dad tapped the horn twice, and they drove off like they were late for brunch. "Okay, what's going on?" I asked, still trying to process what I had just seen. Laura sighed and went inside without waiting for an invitation. Eric followed as if he owned the place. I stood there for a second, debating whether to slam the door and go back to bed, but curiosity and years of being the responsible one got the better of me. Laura sat down in my chair while Eric flopped on the couch and kicked off his shoes. "Mom and Dad kicked us out," she said casually. "They said we're 18 now, and it's time to take care of ourselves." "Okay, so why are you here?" I asked, already dreading the answer. Eric stretched out like he was settling in for a long stay. "Because we were told you'd help us," he said. "You know, since you have your own place, no kids, no girlfriend, 2 bedrooms, seemed like the perfect place." I laughed. I really laughed. "Wait, hold on, you're serious? They just dumped you on me, with no warning?" Laura nodded. "Yep. Mom said you'd understand. Oh, and they told us you'd be covering our expenses for a while." Just then, my phone buzzed. I pulled it out and saw a text from my mom. "Help them with money and pay for them temporarily. Thanks, honey." Smiley face. I blinked and read it twice. This couldn't be real. I half expected cameras to pop out like this was some twisted prank show. "Are you kidding me right now? You don't even have a job." Laura shrugged. "That's why we're here. We'll figure it out, you know, just for a few months." I should have said no. I should have thrown them out right then and there, but something inside me wouldn't let me. Maybe it was guilt, maybe I was still in shock. Either way, I said fine, temporarily. I told myself it wouldn't last long, just enough time for them to get back on their feet. But life has a way of laughing in your face when you make plans like that. The next few weeks went well at first. I bought them separate twin beds and set them up in the guest room. They promised to look for jobs, though I never saw much evidence of that. I gave them pocket money and paid the rent and bills. It wasn't ideal, but I figured we'd make it. Then things started to get weird. One morning, I walked into the kitchen to find a random guy making coffee. He introduced himself as Steve, Laura's boyfriend. "Laura said it would be cool if I crashed here," he told me, smiling like he belonged. The next weekend, Eric brought his girlfriend Kayla, and they locked themselves in his room for hours. When I confronted him later, he shrugged it off. "What's the big deal? You weren't even home." This became a pattern. Strangers showed up at random times, utilities skyrocketed, and my apartment began to feel more like a hostel than a home. Every time I tried to talk to them, they brushed me off or made me feel guilty. "Come on, Mike, you're family. Don't be such a hard ass." The worst part was how my parents acted like I was overreacting when I called for help. "You're their older brother," my mom would say. "You're supposed to take care of them. They'll get it together soon." Soon turned into 28 months, 28 damn months, and every single day of those 28 months drained my patience. So, tomorrow, I'm ending it forever. The temporary arrangement turned into a never-ending nightmare. At first, I tried to keep the peace. I told myself they were young and just needed time to adjust, but by the 3rd month, I knew something was wrong. Neither Eric nor Laura had any interest in looking for work. They spent their days sleeping in and their nights hanging out with friends. I tried to set rules, simple things, clean up after yourselves, no bringing random people over. They'd nod like they understood, then do the exact opposite. Every conversation turned into a fight. One time, I walked in and found Eric hosting a poker game in the living room. There were 6 guys I'd never seen before, beer bottles everywhere and cigarette smoke filling the air. I lost it. "Eric, what the hell is this?" "Chill, bro," he said, barely looking up from his hand. "We'll clean up after. You're not even supposed to have people over without telling me," I snapped. He grinned. "It's my home too, man, don't be a buzzkill." That line stuck with me, my home too. They acted like they owned the place. I kicked everyone out that night, but Eric sulked for days, acting like I'd ruined his life. Meanwhile, Laura was no better. She kept sneaking her boyfriend Steve over, and I'd hear them fighting at all hours. One night I came home to find a broken lamp and a huge hole in the wall. They claimed it was an accident, but I didn't buy it. I tried to get my parents involved. I called my mom and laid it all out, the freeloading, the damage, the constant stream of strangers. "Michael, you have to be patient," she said. "They're still working things out." "Mom, it's been 6 months. They're not figuring anything out. They're taking advantage of me." She sighed. "They're your siblings. Be a little more understanding." I was at my breaking point, but then things took an even stranger turn. One night, I came home from work and noticed something was wrong. The lock on the front door was jammed. When I finally made it inside, I found Laura and Steve sitting on the couch looking nervous. "What's going on?" I asked, looking around. Laura hesitated, then blurted out, "Well, we might have lost a key." "Lost a key?" I repeated. "What do you mean, lost the key? When? How?" Steve spoke up. "It was at a party last weekend. Someone must have taken it by accident." A cold shiver ran down my spine. "You gave someone a key to my apartment?" "No, not exactly," Laura stammered. "We maybe had some people over, left the key on the counter. It must have disappeared." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. For the next week, I was paranoid every time I came home. I had no idea who had access to my apartment. I finally had to change the locks, which cost me another couple $100. After that, I started planning my escape. I wasn't just dealing with freeloaders anymore, I was living in chaos. But I had a problem. I couldn't get them to leave. Every time I brought up the idea, they'd laugh it off. "Oh, come on, Mike. You know we're not ready for that." I was stuck until an opportunity dropped into my lap. One day, Eric casually mentioned that he and Laura wanted a place of their own. "Something bigger than this," he said, as if my apartment wasn't good enough for them. An idea flashed through my head. I played it cool. "You know, I've been thinking about upgrading myself. I might even have a solution for you." They perked up immediately. "What kind of solution?" Laura asked. "A surprise," I said with a grin. "You'll find out soon enough." They were intrigued, and for the next few days, they kept asking what I had planned. I was vague, telling them I was working on something big. In reality, I had a plan to finally get them out. I told them to pack their things because I was going to give them their own place. They didn't believe me at first, but when I kept up the act, they bought it. Saturday morning, we loaded up the car and drove to our parents' house. All the way there, Eric was hyped. "Man, I can't wait to see this place. You really came through for us, Mike." "Oh, trust me," I said, "you're going to love it." We pulled up to the house, and that's when reality hit them. They saw Mom and Dad waiting on the porch. Laura frowned. "Wait, what's going on? This isn't the new house." I parked and turned to face them. "You're right, it isn't. This is where you'll be staying, from now on. I'm done." They both froze. Eric was the first to speak. "What do you mean? You can't just—" "I already did." I cut him off. "While we were driving here, Marcus changed the locks on my apartment. You're not coming back." For the first time in over 2 years, they were speechless. But I wasn't done yet. "Go talk to Mom and Dad," I said. "You have a new home now. You can freeload off them instead." I got out of the car and started unloading their things. As I put the last suitcase on the porch, something unexpected happened. My mom pulled me aside and whispered, "Michael, we need to talk. There's something you're not telling me." Mom's face was unusually serious. "Michael, before you leave, there's something I need to tell you." I glanced back at Eric and Laura, who were still standing by the car, shell-shocked. I wasn't in the mood for any more drama, but Mom's tone caught my attention. "What is it?" I asked, keeping my voice low. She hesitated, then said, "Your father and I didn't just kick them out because they were 18. We had reasons." "Reasons?" I repeated. "Like what? They told me you just threw them out without warning." Mom shook her head. "They didn't tell you the full story, did they?" I crossed my arms. "No, and I've been footing the bill for their lives for the past 2 years, so maybe you should fill me in now." She glanced nervously at the front door, then lowered her voice. They were causing serious problems at the house, Michael. It wasn't just laziness. Eric was caught stealing from your father's business, and Laura was sneaking strangers in at night. It got to the point where your dad nearly filed a police report on Eric. I blinked, stunned. Wait, what? They never said a word about that. Of course not, she sighed. They've always depended on you to clean up their messes. You've been the safety net for them, and honestly, your dad and I let that happen. We figured you'd take care of things like you always do. I clenched my jaw, feeling a mix of anger and betrayal. I had put up with so much crap from them. Broken furniture, random people in my apartment, skyrocketing bills, and now I found out they'd pulled similar stunts back at home, and worse. My parents had just dumped them on me without even telling me why. They stole from Dad? I asked again, still processing. Mom nodded. Eric claimed it was a loan and promised to pay it back, but that never happened. And Laura, well, let's just say we had more than one late-night visit from angry strangers looking for her. Great. So not only were they freeloaders, but they also had a history of shady behavior I hadn't known about. No wonder they had treated my place like a revolving door. I took a deep breath. Why didn't you warn me? I could have handled this so much differently if I'd known. Mom looked guilty. I thought they'd behave better with you. I thought maybe you could set them straight. Clearly, I was wrong. Yeah, you were, I said, shaking my head. I was beyond pissed now. All those months of second chances and compromises, what a waste. I turned and walked back toward the car. Eric was leaning against the hood, looking annoyed. Laura had her arms crossed, glaring at me like I'd just ruined her life. This is bullshit, Eric muttered. We can't stay here. Mom and Dad don't want us around either. I laughed bitterly. Yeah, I wonder why. Maybe it's because you stole from Dad, and Laura brought a circus of strangers into the house. Their eyes widened in shock. Laura stammered, How did— Mom just told me everything, I said, cutting her off. You lied to me for years, and you think I'm the bad guy here? You're lucky I didn't kick you out a long time ago. Eric's face turned red. That's not fair. You don't know what it was like living with them. Dad was always on my case. I didn't have a choice. Yeah, you did, I snapped. You had a choice to get your act together, but instead you brought your crap to my doorstep. Well, guess what? I'm done being your fallback plan. I could see the panic setting in now. Laura looked at Mom, hoping for backup, but Mom just shook her head. Don't look at me, she said. Michael's right. You need to take responsibility for your own lives. Eric tried one last angle. Come on, Mike, we're family. You can't just abandon us. I stared him down. Family doesn't treat each other like this. You've been using me for years, so no, I'm not abandoning you. I'm finally setting boundaries. With that, I got in my car and drove off, leaving them standing there with their suitcases. For the first time in 2.5 years, I felt a weight lifting off my shoulders. But as I was driving away, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Marcus. Hey bro, I got the locks changed, but there's a small problem. Call me when you can. A problem? Just when I thought the day couldn't get more insane. I pulled into a quiet parking lot to call Marcus. He answered on the first ring. Yo, Mike, he said. So we've got a situation. Okay, what now? I groaned. Did the locks not fit? No, the locks are fine, he said, but I wasn't the only one here today. Your neighbors saw me changing the locks and called the cops. They thought someone was breaking in. You're kidding. Nope. I had to explain that you asked me to do it. The cops were cool about it after I showed them the paperwork for the lock change, but they left you a message. I pinched the bridge of my nose. What kind of message? They said one of your tenants already tried to get back in. I froze. Tenant? Wait, Eric or Laura already came back? Nope, some random dude. Said he was living there. What? I almost dropped the phone. Yeah, man. Apparently this guy was squatting in your place. Said your sister let him crash there a few weeks ago. I felt like my brain was short-circuiting. Are you serious? There's been a stranger living in my apartment, and I didn't even know it? Yep. Cops kicked him out, though. But here's the kicker, he left behind a bunch of weird crap. Old clothes, a broken laptop, and some mail, Mike. The mail has your sister's name on it. I sat in stunned silence. Mail? That could mean only one thing. Laura had probably been using my address as her legal residence. If that were true, evicting her might be more complicated than I thought. Did they say anything else? I muttered. Just that you might want to follow up with them. Oh, and I'd check your lease agreement. There might be legal hoops if someone's been using your address. Great. Just when I thought I was done, another mess popped up. I thanked Marcus and hung up. My thoughts were racing. How long had Laura been doing this, and why hadn't I noticed sooner? When I got home, I found the apartment eerily quiet. No more loud music, no dirty dishes stacked in the sink, no random people lounging on my couch. For the first time in 2 years, it was peaceful. But that peace came with a price. There were now deeper problems to clean up. I spent the next few days dealing with the fallout. I called the police to make sure the squatter had really been removed. Then I contacted a lawyer to figure out how to untangle Laura's residence claim. Thankfully, the lawyer told me that as long as I had proof she didn't contribute financially, I had a solid case. Still, I had to file an official eviction notice just to cover my bases. The final twist came when I found something in the pile of junk that Marcus had mentioned. A sealed envelope addressed to me. It was in Laura's handwriting. Inside was a note. "Mike, I know I've messed up. I didn't mean for things to get this bad. I'm sorry for everything. I'll figure things out. Thank you for putting up with me for so long. Laura." For a moment, I didn't know how to feel. Part of me was still angry, but another part felt a little relieved. Maybe, just maybe, this was the wake-up call they both needed. It's been a few weeks now. The apartment is finally mine again. No unexpected guests, no wild parties, no draining arguments. I'm not sure what the future holds for Eric and Laura, but that's their problem now. I've done my part, and you know what? It feels good to finally put myself first. I thought I was done with this nightmare, but of course, there were a few surprises left. After I changed the locks, my friend Marcus called me and said the cops showed up. Apparently, one of my neighbors saw him changing the locks and thought someone was breaking in. No big deal, right? Well, then I found out that some random guy had been living in my apartment. Turns out Laura had been letting this guy crash there for weeks without telling me. He even tried to get back in after Marcus changed the locks. The police kicked him out, but still, what the hell? On top of that, Laura was using my address as her legal residence. I had to file an official eviction just to make sure I was in the clear. At least that's all taken care of. The craziest part? I found a note from Laura in her trash. She apologized and admitted she'd messed up. I wasn't expecting that. Honestly, I still don't fully trust her, but I guess we'll see if they finally learn to stand on their own. Anyway, my place is quiet again, and I'm not paying anybody's bills but my own. It's weird not having chaos around me 24/7, but I guess I could get used to it. Smiling face with smiling eyes. Thanks again, Reddit. You guys were right, sometimes you have to cut your family off to save yourself.